Hello, my name is Grant and this is Grant Loves Books. Today I'm going to be talking about That's the reason I want to start the YouTube channel, is because of this book.
This is a great book.
Love it. I've been reading a very brilliant novel lately.
The Elected Member by Bernice Rubens. The story is about Norman Zweck, Z-W-E-C-K. The story begins with Norman waking up he's a drug addict. And he wakes up hallucinating, he's sweating, he's anxious, he's got paranoia, he's just a mess. And his father and his sister, who he lives with, his father is Rabbi Zweck. Both his father and his sister have seen their brother in this state before, and they know what's happening, and they come to the sad decision that they're going to have to call the medical people to come and take their brother away by force to the asylum to try to get a cure for his drug dependency. That's the book. It is a story of a family being torn apart by this drug dependence on their son. Now, what makes it especially painful is that the son is some kind of like a child genius. He was very intelligent and promising as a child, and he became a local lawyer, or maybe barrister, as they say in England. So that just makes it especially difficult for the family, because he was the golden child, and now he's a sweaty, ranting drug addict who needs to be forcibly removed to the asylum. That's the book, and it is very sad and very compelling. The story of how the father, Rabbi Zweck, how he is trying to deal with his son's drug dependence and also the loss of his wife. His wife is dead. How he is so desperate to try to keep his family together is beautiful. It is a beautifully written book, and it's a short book. It's 224, very short, very compact. So that's the story. I hope that's interesting enough to get you to read this book, because already, I think that's quite amazing. Now, if that doesn't make you want to read the book, just wait, there's more. That Bernice Rubens won the Booker Award in 1970 for this novel, The Elected Member, and it was the second Booker Award that was ever given. It was the second year. The first one was in 1969, and she was the second winner. So
She reads books for fun.
in 1970, this book was exceptionally well regarded. I don't know how popular the Booker was in those very early days. Like nowadays, I think it's more highly regarded than the Nobel Prize. The Nobel Prize seems to be constantly troubled by political motivation. You know, it was given to this author because they hadn't had a black author for a long time. It was given to this author because we had not had one. Even the award to Alice Munro, people might say that, you know, it was just Canada's time to get a Nobel Literature Award. I don't know. I regard the Booker Award more highly than the Nobel Prize. For Americans, I suppose it's very similar to the American award, the Pulitzer Prize, which is only for American writers. And the Booker Award, I think it has changed recently, but at one time it was only for British and the countries who were a part of the Commonwealth. So Canada and India and New Zealand and Australia and some islands in the Caribbean. Those countries that were under the British rule. I read some books from the Booker Award which really disappointed me. This one did not. This one was incredible. This was one of the best books that I've read in 2021. It's just a very beautifully sad story about a family being torn apart. So I want to tell you about my favorite scene. We go back to the childhood of these kids, and the golden child, Norman, he's 5 years old and he has a Polish friend. And one day his parents realize that he's talking to his friend in Polish. And when they realize he's like a little genius, and they send him to French classes, he masters French, he masters Russian, he masters Italian. And even though his Jewish parents, they hate German, they allow him to study German. And he masters 9 languages. And on his 10th birthday, his mother decides that she likes to tell her friends and neighbors, she likes to boast and to brag that her 9-year-old son speaks 9 languages. And she doesn't really like the sound of it when she says her 10-year-old son. She thinks it sounds a little bit better to say that her 9-year-old son. So on his 10th birthday, she decides that he's still going to be 9. And on his 11th birthday, she decides that he's still going to be 9. And again, on his 12th birthday, she still likes to say, my 9-year-old boy speaks 9 languages. Because, it sounds better. 12-year-old boy speaking 9 languages, maybe it just doesn't sound so special anymore. So she has caused this child to remain as a 9-year-old. And everybody in the neighborhood knows that his younger sister is only 1 year younger, so that when she is 11 years old, she still has to claim to be 8 years old. And so that the mother has, out of her own hubris, made her children quite socially backwards, it is suspected in the novel. And this is wonderful. And actually, when I was preparing for this video and I was trying to get some information, I began to wonder if I didn't miss something when I read the novel the first time, that perhaps it's not entirely Norman's fault that the family is being torn apart. Perhaps I should be, the next time I read this novel, I should be a lot more suspicious about the mother's influence on the family. That yes, Norman is a drug addict, but the mother has already started off by demanding that the children remain at an age that they know it's a lie, and they know that it is not true. That's what she wants to do. So the next time I read the book, I really have to be looking a little bit deeper to see how much of that influence really did come from the mother. Even at the very beginning of the novel, I just remembered the father doesn't sleep in the marriage bed anymore. Actually, the son, the drug addict son, now sleeps in the bed because it's bigger and he can thrash around all night. He actually wakes up in his parents' bed at the beginning. So I think the mother, the deceased mother, has more influence on this book than I first thought. So let me tell you an amusing story about Bernice Rubens. Bernice Rubens, by the way, she grew up living in Cardiff, which, as we all know, is the capital of Wales. And her father was a Jewish Lithuanian who migrated. This was in 1900, and migrants wanted to get to New York City because, that was the new promised land. At the very earliest days of the 20th century, there was this massive migration out of Europe. The popular jumping off point was Hamburg, Germany. That was where quite a lot of the ships were departing. There were also quite a few con men who were trying to make some easy money by selling, tickets to make the trip by boat, of course, from Hamburg to, that was the migrant dream that we've seen 100 times in the films. The boat with all the refugees, or not the boat with all the migrants arriving, and the Statue of Liberty and the whole thing. So her father, Eli Harold Rubens, buys a ticket in Hamburg that he believes is for New York. He gets on the boat and gets off the boat. He was sold a ticket not for New York City, but actually just for Cardiff, Wales, which, if you look on a map, is not too terribly far from Germany. Apparently, he was living in Cardiff for 2 weeks before someone pointed out to him that it was not New York City at all, but Wales. Luckily for all of the people who love literature, he stayed in Wales and he met his future wife, Dorothy Cohen, and they got married and they had 4 children. Bernice Rubens was the youngest of the 4 children, and she grew up in a very especially musically talented family. And she was the one who decided to go to study literature and to become a writer. This book really had me on the edge of tears. It's so, the family in shambles because of the drugs, because of the mother's influence, and they're doing their best, as good as anyone could do in the face of this domestic tragedy. Yeah, an amazing book, really an amazing book. I hope you get along well with your family. I lived in Budapest for 16 years, and it was extremely common for almost everybody I knew to go to visit their family at the weekend. That was a very, very common thing that people did. And if you weren't visiting your parents, you were going to visit your spouse's parents. You were visiting your in-laws, and just depending on which family made the better meals. If you have a beautifully happy family and you are in the mood for, very sad events of this family being pulled apart, this is a wonderful book. If you have a dysfunctional family and you think that you are the only one who is suffering with these kind of domestic problems, read this book and know that you are not alone, that the world over there are people who struggle with their families. That's all for today. This is Grant Loves Books. Please.
I'll try and do better. I will. TV! That's what you like to do! Read a fucking book!
Like the video. That's really nice. I'm always really pleasantly surprised when somebody clicks like. If you want to see every video that I'm posting every week, I post a new video every Thursday evening. And if you would like to check out my Patreon page, where every week I'm writing a weekly update about what's happening in my life and what I'm going to be reviewing and what I'm reading. And Bernice Rubens, the elected member. I can't recommend it highly enough. Okay? All right. Have a great day. It's me. I'm really the black sheep of the family. Why am I the black sheep? I don't know. It is the mailman. Oh, Christ.
I'll try and do better. I will. TV! That's what you like to do! Read a fucking